And just like that, the stage is set, ladies and gentlemen. The Dallas Mavericks are advancing to the NBA Finals to face off against the Boston Celtics. That is going to be an incredible series. Make sure you locked in here at Pee Wee the Plug all finals long. We're going to have a lot of content about that. I'm going to be real with y'all. The game is not even over. This Mavericks and Timberwolves game is not over, but it is over, if you get what I'm saying. So I am, as always, prepared. I have a lot of different things in front of me, numbers, stats. This is just one of those games where I guess all of this can kind of go out of the window. I always do this. It's become a habit. I kind of like looking at the official scores report and with all of the things that I've seen on the game. You know what I mean? But yeah, when you have Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving scoring 72 points on the road against a defense that basically dominated the rest of the NBA all season long, that's just it. that's the difference maker right there. And that's why the Dallas Mavericks, to me, coming into the playoffs, were the most dangerous team. You can go on my YouTube channel right now and go look. I have a video calling them the most dangerous team head into the playoffs. This is why they were my dark horse. When you have two guys like this who are as dangerous as they are offensively and can complement each other, and you have this type of supporting cast, we got to do a lot of credit giving right now. You know, instead of really breaking down this pathetic performance of a game, you got to shout out Nico Harrison, who came in and made moves that not a lot of people were sure of, right? You know, you go out and trade for Kyrie Irving. We saw how that ended. They missed the playoffs. Remember, there was a lot of chatter with that. Then you go out and you double down by giving Kyrie Irving the money and an extension. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk because Jalen Brunson had went to the Knicks and took off. That's been surrounding them. You know, you go and you draft Lively. You get P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford. You bring in Derrick Jones Jr. on a minimum. I don't even think a lot of us talked about that. I believe when we talked about the offseason, I was like, hey, that's a good pickup. But I would never sit up here and tell y'all that I was alluding to the pickup being good because I expected this. And here you are. This turned into one of the best supporting casts that I've seen Luka have. You know what I mean? A guy that I felt like was very intriguing, in particular on the type of team that you were going to have to build around him. I think you have to give credit to Jason Kidd. I think you have to give credit to Mark Cuban. This is a team that was willing to accept and inherit Kyrie Irving and a phase of his career where there was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot clouding him. The media did him no favors. And there was just a lot going on where it was very easy for people to have a lot of different things to say about him as a person and a basketball player and everything he brought to a team. And I think Mark Cuban did a good job of, you know, after making that trade, connecting with Kyrie Irving as a human being and really forming a relationship and a bond and to try to get an understanding instead of coming in, you know, with a preconceived thought process of who he is and what he's about and actually getting to know him. And I think that went a long way because now we are now seeing the conversation around Kyrie be changed. You know what I mean? And it's a wonderful thing to see because Kyrie Irving, for all of y'all that are familiar with me, has always been one of those guys that have just been one of my guys. You know what I'm saying? No matter what's been going on, I just think that he's one of the few guys in the NBA where anytime he's playing, you can count me in. You know what I mean? I'm willing to watch. And he's helped uplift his team from a leadership standpoint. I think he's given them something that they've needed for a very long time, a guard who knows himself, right, and is elite in what he does, but then also somebody who is mature enough to be able to do the little things, you know what I mean, and kind of self-reflect. And I think seeing that maturity in that process and the self-reflection and understanding certain things has taken his game to another level. Seeing him buy in on the defensive end, take on some of those assignments we've seen in the playoffs, hold guys accountable. I seen in this game he got on Derek Lively. There was a play where Cat was being guarded by Kyrie and he tried to drive on Cat, and Derek Lively slid to help, but he didn't slide fully. He didn't fully commit. Or no, was that may have been Nas Reed or somebody drove and Kyrie had quickly told him, like, man, you got to come all the way over. You got to be here. Instead of halfway stepping, just fully commit and be the help because obviously I can't guard him and I'm leading him to you. So seeing that goes a long way. And then again, Jason Kidd. I think a lot of people have criticized Jason Kidd over the years as a head coach. He's gotten the most out of this team. He's put together rotations. He's trusted guys, and it's all have come to fruition to them being the team that they are. When we flip the side and we talk about the Timberwolves as they exit their season, this is obviously a performance that they're going to want to forget about after having a game in Dallas to extend the series. I have mixed feelings about this team because they were fantastic. They were easy to root for. It was easy to see some of the strengths that they had. But there's two different routes, right? There's this thing of them not being as complete as we thought. There was some exposure here in this series, but they are also not a bad team. And I don't think they need to go into the offseason with any desperation. You know what I mean? I don't think they need to trade Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't think they need to go make a move. If something is out there, I'm always on the side of improving your basketball team and getting as better as you can if it makes sense. But I just don't think they need to go into the offseason feeling like they have to make some type of move or be desperate or be thirsty. They have some hard questions to answer because obviously Anthony Edwards is going to be paid. Karl-Anthony Towns has gotten paid. Rudy is paid, and he's due for an extension soon. Naz Reid got paid. Jaden McDaniels got paid. So when you have all of this money being tied into this team, you have to be sure that you're fully confident of this team reproducing this season next year. You know, in a Western Conference that will be better. It will be tougher. And you're going to have to come back and do it all over again. And if you feel that way at the front office and the ownership level, then there's nothing. You write the check and you go about your day. But if there's any doubt within this organization that this team maybe can't produce this type of season again and compete for a championship at the highest level, then you will have to, begin to start to think about some moves to make. I am kind of disappointed a little bit just because I feel like this team was headed up. You know what I mean? I feel like they dropped the ball so much early on in the series. Them being down 3-0, I can't sit up here and pretend that I was expecting some comeback. But I am disappointed that they went down 3-0. I picked the Mavericks for sure. I think I picked the Mavericks in 6 or 7. Never in my mind that I think the Mavericks would win in 4 or 5, or that we would be even having those type of conversations. I definitely thought this would be a tit-for-tat type matchup where Dallas steals game 2. Even though they stole game 1, I thought they were more of a steal game 2 type of team. Then Minnesota comes back and win game 3, and then Dallas ties it up in game 4. I thought it would be some type of back and forth like a tennis match. Dallas is dominated, and there are questions and concerns. In this game in particular, Naz Reid has 5 points. Kyle Anderson has 7. Wendell Moore now in the garbage time has 5, and Garza has 6. But they got outscored from the bench standpoint significantly. And that was again, like, they're just all around, all of the things that made Minnesota such a good team to get to this point, I just feel like they weren't able to execute on. They had all of this size, and you come into this series and this matchup feeling like they're going to control the glass and control the boards. They didn't do that. Even with Nas, Cat, and Rudy, they weren't able to do that. They relied on their defense. We saw how they were able to guard the Suns. We saw how they were able to guard the Nuggets. We saw how they were able to guard everybody in the NBA for 82 games. 4th Defensive Player of the Year for Rudy. And they have no answer for Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic besides game 4, where it seemed like the Mavericks really just kind of came out lackadaisical and missed a bunch of shots. And tonight they came out like, hey, they fought. Like, they're not going to just give us a series, so let's get back to what we was doing. And quickly, Derek Lively is back out here being impactful. And yeah, they putting the beats on them. And that's one of the other things too. The game just ended, I'm seeing 21-point loss. It's just, I just don't know how you get here. I just don't know how you get here. And a lot of the times when you lose a series like this or something, there's always something to pinpoint. And I think that's the toughest thing for myself and others when we talk about this series and you talk about Minnesota's perspective. they don't have anything to pinpoint. It ain't like, oh man, Carlton Towns got hurt for 2 games, or man, they just can't really play with Jaden McDaniels on the floor. It's like there is nothing that's like gleaming or like overwhelmingly here. There's a mixture of a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? Naz Reid has been spectacular. He went 2 of 10 today. You know what I'm saying? Nickeil Alexander has been spectacular. He hasn't really been impactful in this series. Kyle Anderson gives you some input, but then when you put him in there, they don't have to guard him. Jaden McDaniels has had some good games. He's had some quiet nights. Anthony Edwards and Carlton Towns, they struggle. I mean, those are the things that you could pinpoint for sure. The struggles of Carlton Towns specifically. He had a very atrocious series. It's going to wrap up that way. But even prior to tonight's game, I think you can walk away saying that this wasn't the best series for Carlton Towns, which is disappointing because, again, Carlton Towns is a guy that I personally love to root for, and I think he's phenomenal. What I want to do is I want to go and see for the series if they have all of the stats updated now, because I would just love to see overall how Cat's series finished. So they don't have the 5th game in the stats, but in totality, Carlton Towns is shooting under 40% from the field as a 7-foot big. He is shooting 26% from 3, which is supposed to be a strong suit, and he's also shooting a team high in 7 threes. He's shooting 7 threes a game. The only person who is shooting more threes than him in this series is Luka Doncic on a night-by-night basis. But Luka's making, out of the 11 threes Luka's taking, he's making almost 40% of them. Carlton Towns is shooting 26%. 26%. And 17 points with 7 rebounds. Anthony Edwards is out-rebounding him. It's not acceptable in my opinion. I think Carlton Towns should be getting to the free throw line way more than Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is shooting 6 free throws a game. Rudy is shooting 4. And you have to look at that. You have to look at that. As much as we love Cat, you got to hold him accountable. Talking about shooting 1,500 shots and whatnot. Obviously, that method ain't working. And, that's just a struggle for me, as I have no real legitimate thing to pinpoint besides Carlton Towns not playing to his capability. And obviously, this isn't the series for Anthony Edwards to remember. You know what I mean? But the one thing I will say about Anthony Edwards is even on his worst night, he's giving you 24, 8, and 8. He's guarding up. Yeah, they're overly gapping up the defense for Dallas, and they're making it tough on him, and they're living with other guys having to make perimeter shots. But even with all of that, I feel like he's taking some of this a little better than Cat. You know what I mean? A little better than Cat, and it's always more it's always a softer or a lighter punch when you're willing to get in that chair and guard a little bit, at least try. You know what I'm saying? And he's taking on some tough assignments, starting off with Kyrie and then Luka and all of that. The responsibility for Anthony Edwards has been kind of overwhelming in this series, even with handling the basketball and different things like that. But incredible season for them. But I do think this leaves such a sour taste in their mouths because they had such an incredible run in the playoffs, especially the way they dominated the Suns. You take out the reigning champ and MVP in Nikola Jokic, a team that a lot of people thought there was no answer for stopping them and being able to beat them 4 times in a 7-game series. You did it. You did it. And then you come out and all of that is washed away because you lose in a gentleman's sweep to a Dallas Mavericks team who, on paper and by the result of the season, they weren't a better team than you. Now, after the series in 5 games, we can say that the Dallas Mavericks were the better team, right? For sure. But coming into the season, in the series, the Timberwolves were the better team. They had the higher seed. They had home court advantage. They beat the best team in the NBA or the best team in the Western Conference in the Denver Nuggets and the reigning champs. They had all of this momentum going for them into the series, and they just dropped it. And I just feel, I don't want to say I feel bad for them, but I hate that their season is ending in this way. It's one thing to lose to the Mavericks in 7. It's one thing to lose to the Mavericks in 6 behind like a insane Luka and Kyrie performance. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing, like you go out in game 6 and the Mavericks shoot 63% from 3 and something crazy. It's one thing to do that. like my Knicks against the Pacers, where the Pacers just made every shot in that game 7. It's one thing to lose like that, but to lose in 5, to lose convincingly like this on your home floor after every game in the series had been close. A lot of the talking that they did, which I'm not mad at, they're asking questions, you respond, but there was some talk where I'm like, yeah, if there's any team that can come back from 3-0, it's us. No, we ain't defeated in the locker room. And I get it. You're not supposed to say, yeah, man, we lost the series for sure. But it's like the 1,500 shots from Kyrie. It's just a lot of talking and not enough action. And that was cute and cool throughout the playoffs, and y'all was handling y'all business, and y'all was standing on it because, again, actions speak louder than words. In the 2 previous series, y'all stood on business. Y'all actions spoke louder than anything y'all was saying. But now when you're doing that and you're down 2-0, dropping 2 games at home with all of the momentum on the road in the world, then you go down 3-0, and then it feel like game 4 y'all won because they came out flat. It wasn't like y'all took the game. They kind of just came out flat. And it seems like in this game, that's all y'all wanted. Y'all was like, hey, as long as we ain't got swept, we good. You know what I'm saying? Like Anthony Edwards said, man, I ain't never been swept in my career. I took that personal. And then they came out, they won that game, and then they came today, and they was like, hey, man, we ain't get swept. And that's just where it's disappointing. As far as the Mavericks, the last thing I'll say before we ride out, they're going to have their hands full. The Celtics are the real deal, right? They've been the best team in the NBA all regular season long, not even close. They've doubled down on that coming into the playoffs. No matter what anybody in the media is saying, no matter what Twitter is saying, what Talking Head is saying, the name of the game is to win, and they've done it. They're 12-2 in the playoffs, and at no point in any series that they've been in, even after they lost the game, did any of us ever think that those series were in question. Ever. Even on their worst nights. On their worst nights, they were coming back from 18 against Indiana and then winning. On Jason Tatum's worst nights, Jaylen Brown was scoring 40. You know what I'm saying? Like, this team is the real deal. And Dallas is going to have their work cut out for them. I'm glad that they ended this series in 5 and then allowed us to prolong into a 7-game series. And now you get beat up by them going into the finals. But I do love some of the storylines. Obviously, Porzingis did play for Dallas. There was some things with him and Luka, obviously. But Kyrie Irving back in Boston. That's my favorite one. You talk about defensive ratings and different things like that. Just throw that out of the window for a second. Personnel to personnel. Derek White, Drew Holiday, defensively, what they can do, or the matchup against Luka and Kyrie, offensively, what they can do. You have the wing tandem of Brown and Tatum. You know, Porzingis, Horford, Lively, Gaff. Like it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice. But the Mavericks, they're gonna have to work out for them. They've done it in this series though, and so they're not out of it. They're not out of it. They have a chance because they probably have the best player in the series. Not even probably. They have the best player in the series, and that's ultimately why I took them in this Timberwolves series. They were going to have Luka, and I felt like Rudy wasn't going to be an answer in that pick and roll. He was not going to provide the defensive support that he has throughout the season against the Dallas Mavericks team. They're going to find a way to attack that and attack the entire defense at that point. I don't want to single Rudy out like he was just obsolete. The entire defense didn't perform the way they needed to. So that's going to be interesting. Like I said before, make sure y'all tap in and locked in all NBA Finals. We're going to be here after every single game. We're picking the Celtics because that was the pick all year long. But I'm not going to lie. I'm the realist out here. I am rooting for the Mavericks. Celtic fans, it ain't no hard feelings. I feel for y'all. But at the same time, I'll keep telling y'all, don't give a fuck what the media is saying. Who gives a fuck what they think? They tried to do the same thing with the Lakers bubble championship. The Lakers be celebrating their championship. They don't care. But because Kyrie is my guy, I would love to see Kyrie get a ring. I would love to see Luka get a ring. It's tough for me to say that because I also don't want to go into next year hearing all this Jason Tatum chatter because I like Jason Tatum. And I like Jaylen Brown a lot. And Porzingis is my guy as well. But damn, this finals run would be immaculate if the Mavericks were able to take out the Clippers, OKC, the Timberwolves, and then the Boston Celtics, who was head and shoulders above the rest of the NBA, that run solidifies Luka Doncic. It solidifies Kyrie Irving. And it would be one of the best runs that we've seen in a while, because you talk about runs and teams that are hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's going to talk about how the Celtics didn't really play anybody. You can't control that, right? And they're going to talk about no Jimmy. They're going to talk about no Donovan and Jared Allen. They're going to talk about no Halliburton to wrap up the series. And even if the Knicks won, we would have been missing 3 or 4 guys. Now you have the Mavericks. Their run was their run. Granted, there was no Kawhi. But that's just been the Clippers story for so long. But they beat a young, hungry OKC team, and then they beat a healthy Minnesota team who had just took out the reigning champs. So this will be one of my favorite runs if they're able to do it. And yeah, man, y'all lock in. We ready. What is it? June 6th. We got about a week. I might do some draft content. All my 2K people that have been the Hawk series and all of that. We're gonna wrap. We gonna do that soon. We're gonna wrap up that series. Luka Doncic is the conference finals MVP. Cool. I'll see y'all, man. I'm out. Peace.